Greetings. I'm Nate Wakeford, your masculinity and mindset coach. Today, I'm going to be having a bit of a discussion on some questions that have been raised inside the Sovereign Brotherhood Community. Details will be below in the captions by this video. And then it was time to do a little mini intervention with someone that might be on the line. So, this is a question by Andre. Are you self-aware? Do you understand that your consciousness and inner frame dictates your reality? What has transpired throughout your life that makes up your perceptions? What do you need to work on to better this perception and create the reality that you desire? What are the ways that you can constantly prioritize your purposes and practice gratification? Are you accepting responsibility for anything that you are allowing to affect you externally? Have you forgiven yourself for any mistakes that you have made in your life and taken full responsibility and learning from them? So this, let me just pin myself. Hopefully this comes through. I got a little baby in the background. That's good. Again, would you mind also turning off your camera? All right, let's get into it. Are you self-aware? Do you understand your consciousness? There's a whole bunch of questions here, and this is obviously a topic I'm very passionate about, and that I think has a profound and dramatic impact on your reality. So, it's just deciding the best way to go about it. So, perception is projection, and your perception drives your experience of reality. Because from an NLP perspective, you have your perception, which is it's how you see the world. And there's a saying that the map is not the territory. So, if how you see the world is provides a limited group of possibilities, you're going to be confined to that limited group of possibilities. So just say, let's take the idea from trauma. Just say it's not safe in your mindset, it's not safe for you to be seen, or it's not safe for you to stand out. You might avoid circumstances such as employment positions, such as being going out in public in social settings. You might retract and avoid being in the spotlight. And you might have a powerful message to share. But because you're unwilling to put yourself in the public spotlight, to be seen, to be exposed, you avoid the future growth trajectory that you could be on. You avoid the relationship that might require you to walk up to someone. You avoid the business deal that requires you to be seen and to be noticed. You avoid the expansion of your business by attracting new clients. So this is all decided internally. This is where you have your internal frame, which is either coming from a place of power and strength and courage, or it's coming from a place of insecurity. And the insecurity comes when you feel that internal environment is threatened. The internal environment can be threatened by people's judgments. It could be affected by rejection. The reality is that internal environment can never be threatened. Perceive that it can. You make the decision of the experience of how it's going to affect you. So an alternative would be for two different people. They see being challenged as an opportunity for growth, whereas another person might perceive, this is where this perception comes from. Another person might perceive that if they get challenged, they need to avoid that pain. They need to become smaller so that the pain won't happen again. Men of frame, when they meet limitation, they get excited. They're constantly leaning into the unknown. When they feel that they run up against an edge or an out or a pain, they get curious. They get excited because they know there's possibility to grow, become even more free, even more resourceful, even more experienced, even more capable, because you keep expanding your range of possibilities, right? So when you restrict or limit yourself from leaning into areas that might be uncomfortable, difficult, painful, that might attract the possibility of judgment, criticism. What you're really doing is you're confining yourself to fewer possibilities in life, to fewer options. And so if life is really just a series of decisions, you start to orientate and confine yourself to a very small area that you're able to make decisions within. Because any of these other decisions could cause discomfort, could result in you getting harm. And so you limit yourself. And that's why the courageous are so richly rewarded, because they are willing to go into areas that the people who lack that courage are unwilling to do. They're willing to lean into the mystery. They're willing to meet and move beyond discomfort. Now, some of these things are obviously unconscious. So you don't realize that you're cutting yourself out from possibilities and opportunities. You're not consciously choosing to limit yourself, but you can catch yourself. If you find yourself talking yourself out of doing something you really want to do because of not having the money, because you don't have the time, because you don't have the energy, because your boss might not say yes, because your partner might not say yes, because there's 1,001 ways. Oh, I've got children, I've got responsibilities. The mind's tricky. It might come up with what seems to be reasonable, justifiable reasons why you stay in your trapped little realities. You know what I mean? It might seem convenient not to make decisions that are uncomfortable, not to lean into areas that you've been avoiding. You can always come up with a justifiable reason for staying small, for staying trapped in your own limited reality. But it's only costing you in the long term. The alternative is you get clear on what you want to experience from it, and you move towards it no matter what. You've decided you want to become an extraordinary man that experiences, certain physical accomplishments, financial accomplishments, relationship accomplishments and experiences, spiritual path. And you decide that, and you just go about craving it, knowing that you will meet resistance and you will meet discomfort, but you're going to move beyond it anyway. And you keep claiming more and more territory, more range of possibility, such that you start to experience extraordinary possibilities that the people trapped in their limited perception don't even consider possible, because they don't allow themselves those possibilities. They might even resent you for it, right? Because they don't see it as possible for them. They project that it shouldn't be possible for you, or they'll resent you having had the courage to go after it. So a big part of this is healing the subconscious traumas, limitations, wounds, scriptings, ceilings, sabotage patterns that keep you trapped in a narrow spectrum of possibility, which keep you in the known realm, what's familiar. And the more that you stay in the realm of the familiar, the less likely you are to risk venturing out into the unknown. The known and familiar does not provide you opportunities for extraordinary transformational experiences. Sometimes maybe universe pushes you in a direction through a health crisis, a relationship crisis, and you're forced to. Whereas the courageous are constantly seeking to live at the edge of possibility in their reality. And that's why they live extraordinary trajectories. So healing the childhood traumas, even past life traumas, a big part of what can free up possibility by expanding your perception of what's possible, by removing the subconscious do not go there's, the subconscious limitations that don't give you those choices of experiences that you desire. So as I said, what really helps you is when you have a clear path trajectory, you allow yourself to consider with the help of somebody else, ideally, when you're around people that live an expanded life, a life of possibility, a life of adventure, they start to show you where you've been limited, and they start to encourage you towards your outer boundaries and perimeters of possibility, such that you begin to expand them as you lean into them. And another part of this I guess, a nuance of what I've been talking about is if you've had a deeply traumatic event or experience, some people use it to justify why they can't venture into the unknown, which is really about fear of it happening again, whether it's fear of pain, fear of loss, fear of death, fear of something, right? Whereas the empowered operate or move forward in spite of that challenge or traumatic event. And so they might even use it as fuel. They might even use it as leverage, which reminds me of a kind of an anecdote or a story. And then apparently there's this survey that was done on two men. One was a millionaire, one was in jail. Both had the same father. When they interviewed them both, from children to 20 years apart, the one, and apparently they didn't have the best father in the world. He didn't really perform his duties well. He didn't really take care of them in the most optimal way. And when they interviewed them, the brother that was in jail, they asked him, "Why do you think you're in jail?" He said, "Well, how could I not be with the adversities and challenges that I had to endure because of my father?" And same reason, he seemed to be a kind of a strict, stern guy that had some sort of violence and whatever. And when they asked the millionaire son, millionaire brother, how do you think you became a millionaire? He goes, "Well, how can I not be? I never wanted to relive or re-experience what it is that I grew up with." So one used it as a means to justify them not taking action, and one of the brothers used it as a means to justify why they took action. And so this is the difference. What it really is going to come down to is whether you choose to make decisions based on the trauma experiences that you've gone through as a reason to motivate you forward in life, to not keep recreating the pains that you've been experiencing, or you use it as a reason to stay stuck. And really, it's just a choice. It's what it comes down to. What will help you once you make the choice to move forward in life and use whatever childhood challenges and restrictions and things that you may have endured as a reason to move forward. When you start to embrace a coach, when you start to learn, like through this, my Sovereign Brotherhood, and you begin to run a passage, you start a forward momentum trajectory, you begin to realize that you can unravel from your traumas and those things that keep you trapped and stuck in old patterns of thinking. You can develop and create a new identity. And the new identity has this new perception of possibility, such that you begin to realize it's exciting to live into the unknown. It's exciting to discover who you might become as you dream about and you move towards it and you overcome the resistances and you overcome the obstacles and the subconscious limiting beliefs and sabotage patterns. And you also discover that you're on an exponential trajectory of possibility because you leap into the unknown and you're willing to meet the discomfort of letting go of the familiar, of letting go of things that you would work to create. And so as you begin to become more and more invested in creating this new identity and the experiences that are aligned with, you start to get more and more momentum. And there is a risk you start to achieve those things that you stay there, become comfortable again. Whereas the super successful know that when they when they break out of a level and they become more successful and they achieve their objectives, if they don't think of the next level, if they don't lean into the unknown again, if they're not willing to risk the current identity to find the next big adventure, the next possibilities inside the unknown, they either stay where they're at or they begin to become, compromised in some way because they stop leaning into possibility and they start becoming resigned, resentful. They shrink back to some capacity because they stop leaning into a new possibility. So this is something, it's a lifelong journey. You don't just become successful. You don't just become the man that you desire to become and that's it. It's a one-off event. No. The truly successful know that once you achieve, you say greatness, you achieve the version of the man that you used to become, there's always another level beyond that. And it's more of a lifestyle than the accomplishment of an event, of an outcome that you committed yourself to creating as a one-off possibility. That ends up becoming a limitation. So you reach into the unknown, you discover the higher version of self, you achieve success, and then you look for another version. You look for the next version of self. You lean into the unknown again, and you keep doing that for the rest of your life. in whatever area spirit guides you. What some people do, they have the one hit wonder. They have their success and they live on that. They try to be known for that, but they never lean into what's new. They're never willing to risk even that success for an even greater success or possibility. And so they eventually shrink back. They stop growing. They stop looking at new possibilities and they start to resign to the success that they accomplish. This is very important of men who are successful at some period of time in their business. You know, they put all this energy in, they strive in their 20s or even 30s, they made the success, achieved a high level of accomplishment, and then they live on that, and then their life slowly degrades or erodes. The alternative is, like I did, is after I made financial business success in a company that took me 15 years to build, I risked it all. I moved countries. I invested in a new legacy. I went through a dark night of the soul, and now I'm merging like a phoenix with a new life trajectory, with new love, with new possibility, with new aliveness. You know, and I'm leaning into the unknown again, and it's really exciting to do so. So hopefully that gives you some insight into one, how it's important to one, choose your life experience, your identity, your version of self that will lead you into discomfort, that leads you out of your present familiarity into areas that are uncomfortable, into areas that are beyond your current horizon of what you consider possible for yourself, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, because it's who you become that is the goal, is the reward by leaning into an area of new possibility. And also having the decision to move forward in life, to use whatever adversities and challenges that have happened to you as a means and motivation to lean into that new possibility rather than continue to perpetuate and create from the limited aspects of the limited version of yourself. And so you need to take responsibility. You have to step out of any victimhood, any blame, anyone else at all. You know, I gave the example of two brothers in jail who blamed the father. You can't blame anyone externally for your experience. You have to ultimately take full responsibility for your current experience, especially as an adult, and then utilize that as a motivation to commit to becoming the expanded version of self, the extraordinary self, and then diligently, consistently, distantly work towards creating that. And seek support from brothers, from coaches, mentors, to make it a more graceful and easy trajectory towards the creation of this expanded and empowered version of yourself.